Thank you for clicking this video. This video is actually some gameplay of when I was at UK Games Expo and I got an opportunity to play a demo of the Cyberpunk TCG. My experience with the game was that it was really fun, so I decided to film it. So I actually played a demo the day before, and this day I brought my partner and I said, okay, let's film the game. So a couple of disclaimers though about this game. This is with the demo decks, so these are the alpha decks. That means that some of the cards here weren't their final versions, so they weren't completely polished, and they were slightly less interactive. So you'll see some turns here that are less interactive. We're not playing in each other's turns as much as you would in the full game, now with the quick keyword and some of the other new cards that have been announced. In the future, I'll have more gameplay videos. I'll try and have some gameplay videos soon of some of the new keywords and how they can come up. So we've had Adrenaline announced and Quick, some cards that interact a lot quicker. But for now, let's look at this game. So you can see that we've set up. We're currently getting briefed on how to play. We've set up our gigs. So if we look at the bottom player, they have their gigs on the left. Then their legends, and there is the learn to play mat that we had in front of us to help us get the rules. We're going to start by determining who goes first. We're going to roll a d20. And the player at the bottom won the dice roll, so they're going to go first. Player 1 in Cyberpunk spends 2 of their resources. They spend their left 2 most resources, so they turn them sideways. This reduces the advantage of going first. So I really like the idea of this mechanic. Going first is so strong, so reducing the amount of resources you have to play with should help. But I think we'll have a better idea of how this looks when we get into the real game. Honestly, I mean, in terms of the demo decks, though, because of the sort of linear strategies, more power was just better. So generally, going second was probably quite fine. So we start the game by drawing 6 cards. So we decided who goes first. We drawn our 6 cards, and we have the option to mulligan. Both of us don't really know the cards that well, so I think we both decline the mulligan. Now, player 1's going to draw a card at the start of the turn. So at the start of each turn, you will draw a card and awaken everything that's spent. So you'll ready everything that's spent, except for turn 1, obviously, because we've tapped the 2 legends. Now you choose a gig to roll. So player 1, she's gone for the biggest one that you can roll. You can't roll the d20 until last, so she's decided to roll the d12. And that then goes into her gig area. Now, she's revealed something that can be sold for eddies. And it's got an eddy sign. So she can resource it. And then she can use those resources to play cards. So she's got 2 resources up, but she looks through her hand. I don't think she's got anything that costs 2. And I just point out here, you know, when I'm moving over this card, the importance of trying to keep your legends away from your eddies. And it's really quite easily done, to be honest. If you start to put your resources together, as you naturally would in other games, you really want to make sure that you don't mix them together too much, because your legends can be played. You can spend an eddy to play a legend, to call a legend. So you don't want to mix them in, especially when things are sleeved up. It might start to get messy. So we've moved over to my turn now. I've decided to roll a d10, and I've rolled my d10. I've put it in my gig area. And here I'm thinking about what to spend. And I'm talking here about the advantage of going first, how you're ahead on gigs, which means you're closer to the win con. Even though it feels unfair when you've only got 2 to spend versus 4, right? But in the full game, I think it will make a lot of sense. And so I played Atlas here, who at this stage was a 4-cost 7 power unit. So really powerful. And then when I pass my turn, play one draws, rolls a d6 gig, and now starts to think about what they can do. And I explain here the importance of not looking at your legends. That it's supposed to be random. So, as a reminder, you can pay one to call a legend, but it has to be random. You choose a random legend. There are cards in the game, in the full version of the game, that allow you to peek at the legends or look at the legends, and that helps reduce the randomness, which I think is really cool. But in the demo version, there's no cards that do that, so it's completely random. We don't know what we're going to flip up. And here we have another card sold for eddies, and a 3 cosplayed there. And interestingly, in the full audio here, I ask a member of staff if I could tap a legend and to flip a legend to play it, and you can. So then player one here in that she decides to tap the legend and then play the legend immediately, which is really cool. And interestingly, when combined with the Go Solo mechanic, you actually can tap to then call the legend, and then when you go solo and play it, it will come in ready, which is really interesting. So it seems to me, unless your legend has an ability that involves spending it, which is turning it sideways, then actually it's quite clever to tap your legend as a resource to play a legend. And notably, all cards come in ready in the Cyberpunk TCG. So all your units will come in stood up. Hence why I corrected the unit. They just have lag, which means they can't attack the turn they're played. So I think, other card games have very similar things. But in this card game, they come in stood up, but they just can't attack the turn they're played unless they say otherwise. So I play this 2-cost unit, which is a blocker, and just from the demo experience, I think that blockers are going to be such a key part of the game. The ability to block an attack is huge. If you can make your blocker stronger, you can win a combat and kill their unit, which is also really cool. But here in this moment, you can see that my Atlas is going to swing, and I'm just explaining the blocker keyword to player one. But right now, player one's unit doesn't have a blocker. Player's one unit is not a blocker. So with no blocker, that means I'm going to get to steal a gig. And just remember that you need 7 gigs, not a total of 7 only gigs. You need 7 separate gigs. So I passed my turn. I didn't sell anything for eddies that turn because I didn't have anything to sell for eddies. So as my board looks scary, actually, I'm just playing low-cost units. And also player one is the first to play a legend. They have the blue Jackie Wells unit, which is really cool. The Jackie Wells manipulates gig values in order to draw cards, which is cool. And just remember, the value on our dice is called street cred, and that's what I'm explaining here. So in relation to Jackie Wells, when your street cred goes up and down, it affects different cards in the game. So that's where the number on the dice comes into play. So the Jackie Wells legend, when the gig value is maxed, you can draw a card. So you can, when you play blue card, you can modulate the value. If it's maxed, you draw a card. Now, in the full version of the game, I believe blue is minimum values. So actually, Jackie Wells now looks at minimum values if a gig value is the minimum, which is really interesting as well. So here, player one continues to sell more cards. We're ramping up. So with 6, that's pretty good. And here, player one is reading the legend that they flipped up, which is the V Corpo card that has Go Solo, which is really awesome. So she's a 5 cost with 8 power. So what she can do here is she can tap her remaining 5 in order to play the V, and the V will come in ready, which is really cool. We were having a discussion about the value on the dice and trying to trigger Jackie Wells. But me personally, I'm not too familiar with the D10 dice or D12 dice. You know, most of the dice I see are either D6 or D20. So we weren't actually sure which dice she had on the board. So player one is thinking about swinging for an attack here. So they swing for an attack with the unit. They should spend it here. They should turn it sideways. So so I now help them by spending this. And here, oh, we got a bit of glare. That's a shame. But here we have the V coming into play, and she's going to spend herself to try and attack to steal a gig. And here we can see the blocker mechanic coming into play. So I spend my blocker in order to redirect the attack. V is stronger, so she kills my blocker. And you can notice here, like the way that the legend has really turned the tide of this game. V has 8 power, was my Atlas. My big unit has only 7. So if he was to attack, then V could actually kill him and survive. So it's quite a scary position for me here. And I think as well, when we get to the main game, when the game is released fully, we're going to see like more interaction, more abilities coming into play, more gear. We play a notably low amount of gear here. And I've tapped to flip my legend, and I've hit one of the Arasakas. And this one is one of the cards that does interact with Street Cred. Remember, Street Cred is the value on our dice. So sometimes we want high Street Cred, sometimes we want low Street Cred. So I've equipped Sandevistan here onto my Atlas. So now my Atlas is in a good position to kill the Vi. The V, sorry. And notably, I'm making sure player one knows that when you steal a gig, it's you that chooses which gig you steal. So your opponent doesn't give you a gig, you choose which gig to steal. And this is going to be a really key part to the gameplay. Now that we're going to start manipulating gig values a little bit, my opponent wants a max gig value to trigger their Jackie Wells to draw cards, and I want high street cred. The way that we're stealing dice is now going to change. So she wants to look for the dice that are almost maxed, the dice that are near a max value. Whilst I want to look for the dice that have the highest value. And player one continues to ramp here. Here they have 6 resources versus my measly 4 resources. So I'm very much in fear of what's going to happen to my Atlas here. And here I get a little bit cooked by a program. The program returns a unit with 4 or less, cost 4 or less to hand. So my Atlas should come to hand. But actually, an interesting thing in Cyberpunk is that I've misplayed this here, and that the Sandevistan should come to hand too. So with gear in Cyberpunk, wherever that unit moves to that's equipped to the gear goes to. So the Sandevistan shouldn't go to my trash, which is where I put it. Instead, it should have gone to my hand. And it makes sense if you think about the Cyberpunk universe. If you have a gig if you have a body modification. It's part of you, isn't it? So it would go with you. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I think one of my abilities helped me steal a dice, and I hadn't realized when I played it last turn. So we resolved it now. And she's now played her third legend, which is Victor. He searches the top 5 card of the deck, and he can add, I think, up to 2 gear that cost 2 or less to hand. And so she reveals V's pistol, I believe. And so you can see I'm in a hard spot here. She has all her legends out. She has 6 resources. You can't see fully, but she's got a sizable hand. She's got a better board. It's not looking good for me. These Arisakas aren't working well. So I think I need to play some more legends here. I think I need to try and play one of my legends next turn. And play one here, taps 2 more to play a blocker. And here the blocker is actually really strong because my unit has only 1 power, whilst the blocker has 2 power. So if I try and swing for a gig, she could always use the blocker, and then the blocker would kill my unit. So I'm in trouble. I rolled the d4, and the d4 looks really interesting. They're really interesting looking little dice. They look really cute. And on that note about the dice, I think this is the starter dice set. So I think this is either purchasable or on the Kickstarter. I'm not sure which one, but these dice sets will be available. So I've paid 1 to play my legend, the Green Arasaka legend that is on the right side of the screen. I've then sold a card for Eddies, so I now have 4 Eddies up. I believe the Green Arasaka card gives +1 to your Arasaka units, so we're trying to make the mighty here. Units that have more than 10 power will steal 2 gigs. Here, I've equipped onto my unit. Here, I've attacked with my unit, and my opponents used their blocker to redirect the attack. I've then triggered my red Arasaka ability. That ability allows me to draw a card. If my street cred is 20 or more, I don't have to discard. My street cred is 19, so I had to discard a card. But my unit defeated the blocker, which is good. I've got another unit on the board, which is currently a 3/5, and here you can see my hand. So I have another Atlas, I've got a mech, and I've got another blocker. I'm not feeling super great. I know I'm in not such a great spot, but I've got a couple of units on the board. I know I have another legend to play, and I don't know what that legend is yet, so I'm quite excited. And then, interestingly, my opponent sells the pistol, so I see that they're ramping quite a lot. She has maybe 5 resources. And on that note, the go solo keyword on the legends means that you can put them in play, which is great. But what that also means is that you're losing a resource because that legend could have been used as a resource. So I think when we're playing the full version of the game, I think it's really important to time when we use the go solo keyword. If you use the go solo keyword immediately, you might have a really powerful turn, like my opponent did. but then you've lost a resource, and if your opponent kills that legend, well, that can be a real swing on the game. So, and as I see my opponent's hand, I can see that they sold the pistol because they had another. And here they've played Jackie Wells. If you are familiar with the game, this Jackie Wells card has been putting fear into the community for a while. I didn't know that. I'd never seen that card. So I read this card for the first time. The demo version of this card gets +2 power for each gig that you control. So currently this Jackie Wells is getting +8 and also has 6 by default. So right now, if they hit, they would hit me for 2 gigs. They would steal 2 gigs. What becomes more problematic is that my opponent then puts on a gear that makes Jackie blocker. So I'm looking at this huge blocker. I know I'm in trouble. And now Jackie, because my opponent stole a gig, Jackie's even stronger. Jackie's now on 16. Jackie's potentially going to be taking a lot of gigs. But just remember, getting to 7 gigs does not win you the game. You need to start your turn on 7 gigs. So even if Jackie completes an attack here and steals 2 of my gigs, my opponent then has to have those gigs at the start of their turn. So I need a miracle here. So I tap 1 to flip my legend. My legend here is Guro, who has Go Solo, which is pretty good. But I know that it's not good enough to hit over Jackie as it is. So player 1's in a really good spot. They've got a huge blocker, so I'm going to struggle to get a big hit through him. And here I attempt to steal a gig. My opponent uses Jackie to block. I'm trying to bait out some interactions, but I know that it's not doing a lot for me anyway. I remembered that I should have drawn and discarded from the Arasaka ability. And then I've also declared an attack into their spent unit. So I'm trying to slow them down here so that they don't just win next turn by taking all the gigs. I get a blocker down to try and slow down the game. And I pass and I just pray. I know that if my blocker gets taken down here somehow by an ability, that I'm not going to be able to hold another turn. And Jackie currently has +12. So if Jackie gets plus another 2, then Jackie will be stealing 3 gigs on attack, which is huge. Jackie's a real powerhouse. The Jackie Wells card is such a powerhouse. In the current version of the game, the ability works a little bit differently, but it's similar. It's similar. I believe instead Jackie has 8 power by default, but gets +2 for each gig with a different number. I believe it is. My opponent's thinking here because they're worried about how to use their Jackie, and if they attack with Jackie, Jackie's not going to be blocker. So they get some more units down, including a blocker. They decide to attack with the Jackie here to get my blocker out the way. They can see that I've got 2 cards in hand. Jackie's ready to hit me like they mean it. I roll my dice. And my opponent's remembered here that she's supposed to modulate the might when she plays a blue card to try and draw a card. So remember, try and when you're building your decks in the future, if you try the Cyberpunk TCG, remember that your legends usually have static effects that you want to use. Our demo time has actually run out here, but we decided to finish the game. So we play a little bit quick here. I try and attack. They use their blocker. I attack with Goro. I steal a gig. And then Jackie's going to hit me in the face and steal 3 gigs. So we decided that if the game would have been played to completion, my opponent would have won here. So that was our demo game of the Cyberpunk TCG. I hope that looked interesting. The real game looks a lot more interesting. There's a lot more interaction. And when you watch people play who know how to play, it's definitely a lot better. But this is a real good insight of what the novice experience looks like. I highly recommend trying the Cyberpunk TCG if you've not already. It's a fantastic game. The dev team are really supportive and the card design looks really interesting. If you liked this, if this was helpful, let me know below. I really appreciate it. Otherwise, keep an eye out for my videos in the future. I'll have more gameplay coming. I'll talk about more cards and we're going to talk about the competitive scene. Thank you. Take care.